Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome to another episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. I am, of course, your host, Marcus Nez. How are y'all doing? Hopefully, well. I've had some recent issues enunciating well. I want to try and consciously do better, but we'll see how that goes. What I'll be talking about on this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show includes Cat Quest 3, Pepper Grinder, Mars 2120, Thief Simulator 2, Bloodhound, that is Bloodhound, not the Bloodhound Gang, and then Tiny Pixels Volume 1, Ninpo Blast. And of course, opening games live. Is that what it is? OGL? ONL? Opening night live? I don't know. Jeff Keighley's follow-up to Summer Game Fest, prelude to the Game Awards, happened, and it was one of the worst shows I've seen in a while. It was incredibly pointless, and it feels like I can't remember past shows, but it feels very much so like something that doesn't need to exist. It's fine to have these two bookends in the summer and the winter of Summer Game Fest and the Game Awards. So having something a few months after Summer Game Fest, which is, for all intents and purposes, the replacement of E3, what are we really getting from this? It's like having or trying to have a big show at every conference, at Gamescom, at TGS, at every PAX. We don't need all that. Let's just have the two big shows a year and maybe try and make the Game Awards more of a celebration of the industry and gaming and less so a promotion of it. But opening games live was so boring and pointless and void of anything exciting, sans the few minutes when Tim Miller got on stage to talk about and show off a little of the Amazon anthology series he's doing for video games called Secret Level. I don't think he revealed there, but we saw glimpses of everything, and in news reports after the fact, they mentioned the properties of the 10 or 12 little shorts they're doing for that. They look cool. I have not watched Love, Death, and Robots. I've seen clips from it, and what I've seen I've liked, but I've not sat down to watch any of them from start to finish. But I really love Tim Miller's passion when I've seen him on Not Stunt and Visual Artists React as part of the Corridor channel. That really opened my eyes to his background, pre-Deadpool, and I've gained a lot of respect for him from that. So I am excited about that. His genuine emotional reaction to being able to reveal it was also very nice. The Pac-Man short looks weird. I'm open to weirdness. I'm open to them taking some properties and doing weird things with them. Of course, I think two of the properties are Amazon related games, which makes sense. They're fitting the bill. You're going to do what they want. Sifu seemed like an odd one. I guess the game did pretty well, but for it to be one of the first in this potentially continuing series was odd, but I'm excited to see it nonetheless. And with it being on Amazon as opposed to Netflix, there's a decent chance we may get a physical release down the road. They are pretty good about putting their shows on disc if they're popular enough. I'm not sure exactly how they do it because I'm pretty sure that Miss Marple show was pretty popular. That never got a physical release to my knowledge, but we've gotten stuff for their action shows. So maybe it's just action. We've gotten Reacher, Jack Ryan, The Boys. That's maybe it. I'm trying to think of what else. We didn't get one for that Nazi boys-like show that I've not watched, nor High Castle. Invincible hasn't gotten anything. So, and that's animated, so that might be a knock against Secret Level. And then I'm waiting impatiently. I'm patiently waiting to see if they will put out. I'm assuming they will, given its popularity, and I think it would sell well. Physical release for the Fallout series. I have not watched that yet, and I will not watch it unless it gets a confirmed physical release. And I'm not sure if that one, because they're very weird about what shows have ads, or they'll say right at the front, here's an ad-free experience thanks to the sponsor, Dunkin' Donuts. Watch Fallout, enjoy it. But that was the only exciting thing from the whole show, and I watched the whole thing after the fact. It's starting with Jeff Keighley getting all excited and getting people excited about a brand new announcement for a game that hasn't leaked was technically true, I guess, but also kind of nonsense given the fact that it was Borderlands 4, which was basically officially announced by Randy Pitchford days ago. I don't know if it was a week ago already, but he basically announced it on Twitter when talking about how the movie that came out, no one likes it. So, hey, I hear you really want more stuff from us because the movie sucks, but you really like our games, I hear. So, you know what? Maybe we'll make another one. Let me really hint at it heavily by spelling FOR, FOUR. Okay, Randy Pitchford. Have fun with that. Oh. So, that was a bit of an immediate, oh, okay. And then ending with the announcement of a new Mafia game set in Sicily is cool, but it being this very brief whatever announcement telling us we'll see more in December, presumably at the Game Awards, kind of takes the wind out of the potential of that announcement with gameplay at the Game Awards. So, there were a handful of other announcements or trailers that were going to show us more of this or more of that, and then the trailer was 10 seconds. It felt incredibly anticlimactic. The one other thing I will say is I am all in on Infinity Nikki. I am here for that game's weirdness. I want to play it. I am 99.99999% sure that is PlayStation exclusive, because why would they put that on Xbox? No one's going to play that on Xbox. The audience for that is not on Xbox. I would like to think they are. I don't think they are, though, because there aren't many Xbox gamers like me. And then that reminded me, Genshin Impact being announced for Xbox. I don't know if that was already leaked, revealed at some point somewhere, but I did not know of that, so that was a pleasant little, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot now. But I don't know if I really have the time to get into whatever that game is selling. And it kind of feels a little bit too late, though I think that game is still very popular. I'm sure it having a mobile version helps a lot. Any game that is of that nature and has a mobile version will be able to keep an audience, I would assume, just because of the sheer number of devices out there and how popular those devices are in other territories, especially a game like that where it would be popular in a country like Japan, and mobile gaming is popular there. But that's it. I don't know what else happened there. In terms of other stuff going on. I think I've already scrapped the idea of a movie podcast because when I was thinking about it, as much as I love watching movies and shows, I don't explore new stuff all that much. So I don't know how much value there is in something like that. I'm not going to start a movie podcast, a movie show, whatever else it would encompass podcasts that would then kind of force me or feel like it's forcing me to watch the new show, the new movie that's on Netflix that I don't really care about and don't want to watch, but I feel an obligation to be current. I don't want to do that because I'm still sticking by my, for the most part, I'm not going to watch anything if it's not or likely not going to get a physical release. I made it a point a year or so ago that I was going to own every video game, movie, or show, regardless of quality or my personal enjoyment of it. And because of that, I own stuff like the Halo show, which I don't like. And I've seen it, and I will see the Knuckles show. I've already got it pre-ordered, but I've not watched the Twisted Metal show, which I'm glad. I hope that never gets a physical release because I do not want to watch that. But if it does, that'll happen. So I'm weird in that sense. And because of that and other stuff, I just think the whole idea of a movie show podcast doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if we're thinking about it financially, it's not going to make a lot of sense either. Zing, or what do they say on the other one? Bazinga? I don't know. I don't like that show. And then to go off of that one little bit more before I move on, I think with movies, any kind of thing I have to do with that, I will save for Letterboxd because I do plan on becoming active on that again. And that is where you'll be able to see my thoughts on stuff like Furiosa, which I just watched. Spoilers. Did not like. You want my in-depth thoughts? I won't give them to you. I will give you my ranking, though. My ranking for the Mad Max movies, because I did watch the 4 previous ones over the last week or so in preparation of Furiosa's physical release. Number 1, easily, and it's not a sign of the movie's greatness, but of the series' weakness. It's Fury Road. Fury Road is a visual spectacle, a visual masterpiece. It's one of the best looking movies I've ever seen. And because of that, it's number 1. But the story is shit, just like every other Mad Max movie. And that's because George Miller, fantastic director, terrible writer. And his continuation with this series, trying to create a world out of it, building upon the lore, what lore there is, it just feels like a fucking waste of time. And I think Furiosa didn't do well at the box office, so I don't want to say hopefully this means it's the end of the series, but I wouldn't mind seeing George Miller try some other things and something completely new. Don't go back to Happy Feet. Don't go back to Babe. Try something completely different. Going back to Twisted Metal, I think he would have been, given his love for car combat, a perfect director for a really high quality Twisted Metal movie. But my ranking is Fury Road, then The Road Warrior, aka Mad Max 2. There was some bad enunciation. Then Mad Max, then Furiosa, and then far behind Furiosa is, what the fuck is it? Beyond Thunderdome, which was my first time watching the whole thing from start to finish. I can never make it through, and there's a reason for that. I hate that movie. That movie sucks. I didn't know about the whole kid thing, and then I learned later that it was basically a Lord of the Flies movie that they got George Miller to direct, and he said, why don't we just put Mad Max in this, and let's make it a Mad Max movie. And that shit fucking sucks. I also hate the world building aspect of slightly changing the vocabulary to try and make it seem like it's far away from established society when things were normal. So one of the things they say in the movie is, I think, we finded. So they say finded instead of found. And I just find it weird that they speak so well 99% of the time and they're eloquent, and then they just have these few words that for some reason those got lost in time. Fuck off. No, it's just a way to make it sound off and different, and I get it. It doesn't work for me. But yeah, I really didn't like Furiosa. It is heavy on world building. It's 2.5 hours. It feels so fucking long. I said I wasn't going to elaborate. This is just a little bit of... It's just... No. We didn't need this. Furiosa was pointless. We didn't need it. World building another way. I got enough of Furiosa and Fury Road. I didn't need her backstory. Anywho, let us get on to what I've been playing and call this a show. Because I am recording this late, and I am still just getting used to the various changes and streaming and all that jazz. So let us get this over and done with. Cat Quest 3. I played a little bit of this, and I really liked Cat Quest 2. I beat it. I 100% it, liking it that much. I really enjoyed what I played of Cat Quest, but I never finished that because it wasn't on Xbox. Would love a port of that. But what Cat Quest 3 adds isn't that much. It looks slightly better, maybe, but it still has that beautiful pop-up book aesthetic, really bright, colorful art. This, if you don't know, is an action-adventure game, kind of an isometric, but pulled more down camera angle. Very a la classic Zelda or games of that nature, where you play as a cat going on this adventure full of punny writing that is either going to work for you or not. If you don't like cats and don't like puns about cats, you should already know that this game isn't for you, obviously. But if that is something you're into, you'll like that. And the game looks fantastic. But the things they've changed and added to Cat Quest 3 are not things I like. They've added ship combat, so this has a bit of a pirate theme to it. And what I've played of the ship combat so far is pretty basic. But it's just... Instead of the traditional having cannons on the side, so you're trying to get up your side of your ship to the enemy ships, your cannon, and I don't know if it changes with new ships, is right in front of you. And you use that in combat, and you just spam the button and hope for the best. That's fine, but it's not super engaging, not super exciting. The real big change that I don't like, one, you should know this game is on the more challenging side on normal, even right from the start. There is an easy mode, you can play that and make it a lot more accessible. But one thing that I'm pretty sure was in Cat Quest 2 that's not here is the ability to see when fighting an enemy what their level was. And that way you could gauge their level compared to yours. That may not have been in Cat Quest 2, but there was also, at the very least, a clear designation, way of knowing if an enemy was high enough above your level to be a problem that you may not want to engage with because it would be a hard fight that you would probably lose. There was none of that here that I saw. Instead of a more traditional help, you just see this heart above their head that indicates how much health they have. Fine, whatever. Not a huge deal. What is a more significant change, one, you have your basic melee weapons and magic system, but now they've added guns that just allow you to shoot enemies from a distance. Fine, whatever, pirate, our matey. But in Cat Quest 2, the way combat worked is that enemies would telegraph their attacks. What this means is if they had an area of effect attack, so they would hit all their surroundings in a circle, they would telegraph this attack by first showing you the entire area that their attack would hit, and then radiating from inward from themselves, from their model, outward towards the edge of the area would be red, so that when the red hit that edge, you would know that they would initiate that attack. That allowed you to, one, know where the attack was going to hit, and two, when the attack was going to hit. So you could strategize around that in attacking them and then dodging out of the way when the attack was going to be initiated. In this, you don't have any of that. And it worked the same with any kind of attack. So if somebody was an enemy that would charge at you, you get a little arrow from them that would show you the direction they would charge and when they would initiate it, and so on and so forth. You don't have that here. Instead, you get a little glimmer, a little sparkle in the eye or in that area that tells you they're going to initiate an attack. But in my limited time, it didn't seem like there was any clear indication with enemies that have multiple attacks, for example, what attack they would be doing. And then with ranged attacks, where they might throw up some bombs or rocks or something, and they would fall in certain places, you would see the shadow of where they would fall, but you wouldn't know except through experimentation and through play and figuring out through that what the radius of the attack area would be. This may be to certain people's liking because it makes it more challenging, and I understand that. But I don't think the way it worked in Cat Quest 2 made it too easy or simple. It made it more fun and engaging for me because it added this strategic element to it and kept me on my toes. You have to be on your toes here, of course, because you're not sure what's going to happen to the same extent, but it doesn't feel as satisfying. It's like if you've played Into the Breach. I'm not going to talk about what Into the Breach is, but they telegraph their attacks and what they're going to do. And if you took that away, the game would lose everything that makes it special. And I'm not saying that's the same here. It doesn't ruin Cat Quest 3, but it makes it different in a way that, at least at first blush, I'm not a fan of. I will, of course, play more. I don't know when. I'm not super interested right now because of that. But that's where I'm at with Cat Quest 3. I was very, very excited, and I'm a little bit disappointed right now. But we'll see how it goes down the line. I'll play it for Attack the Backlog for sure because I love Cat Quest 2 so much. I love cats. I'm not going to not play it. But I might, depending on how things go, just knock it down easy and just have a fun adventure that I don't have to think about too much and enjoy these characters and the beautiful world. But that is Cat Quest 3. Next is Pepper Grinder, which is a unique platformer that doesn't have a lot of traditional platforming. I'm pretty sure this came out on PC a while ago, but it just recently came out on consoles. I'm playing on Xbox. And the way a lot of it works is you have a giant drill. You shipwrecked on a beach, and you have a giant drill that you found after the bad guys cut off the bridge you were walking on, and it just happened to be there, and you grabbed it and you're like, oh, fuck, here's a drill that seems to not need any power. It's just infinite battery. Cool. It doesn't matter. Who cares? You don't need context. And this is 2D pixel art. It looks very reminiscent. The game that came to mind for me was Pixel Junk Shooter, but just more of a traditional indie kind of pixel look. Looks good. But the way it works most of the time is that you are digging through dirt and gravel event. You're digging through specified areas of the screen, the game space, to traverse the area. And you can boost in there and get a little momentum and then shoot out of it and gain extra height or extra distance to reach areas you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Gameplay wise, in that sense, what it feels closest to, and this will only be something that older folk can use as a reference, it feels kind of like Echo the Dolphin. And it's satisfying because when you're in the dirt and you are drilling, there's a really nice flow and feel to it because you get the sense that your drill is pulling you forward, less so that you are pushing forward and more so that the drill is pulling you forward and you are just adjusting the direction it is going when you are in ground. When you are out of the ground, or because you can be in the ceiling too, but in the ground, the dirt, the earth, when you're in earth, and sometimes you're in water too, it feels great. When you're outside and you don't have to do much outside, but when you are outside, it's basic platforming, it's fine. But the game knows that this isn't what makes it feel good, so they don't make you be in there too much. And then in the first area, for example, it adds some interesting elements like having these platforms that when you drill into them, they'll flip over and you could damage other enemies that way, open up new areas. There are secrets to find. There are light puzzle elements so far. And it all feels good. The first boss I found to be a little annoying, so I'm curious how those will get down the road. I found it annoying that it seemed like there was a way in which I could attack this boss at a specific point to drop them from the ceiling to the ground, and it didn't seem like it always registered. But what I think the game will excel at is the speedrunning community, because that is where I think the most fun is to be found in here. When playing through the game, the campaign and in casual mode, there are checkpoints, and it's pretty generous with that. Accessibility options are limited. This isn't Celeste where it gives you a way to play it and beat it if you're not feeling the mechanics. If it's not working with you that well, or it's a little bit too difficult for you, you're just shit out of luck. The only thing you can do is lower the game speed, but maybe that'll make it easier for people, but I think you would lose a lot of what makes it enjoyable. But the speedrunning community, I'm sure there's already one for it, but that is where the game excels. There is a time attack mode you unlock when you complete a level, and in that they remove checkpoints, and I almost thought I wasn't recording. I'm like, wait, did I start recording? Yes, I'm recording. But they remove checkpoints, and so you have to get through a level in one go without dying. And for me, that was where I had the most fun, because when I'm just doing it in casual mode and I'm taking my time, I'm looking for secret areas to collect the 5 gold coins that are in each level. I was having an all right time, but when I tried to get through a level in one go, keeping my flow going, trying to do it as fast as possible with as few breaks during that time, that is when it was the most fun for me. And I had to redo levels multiple times to pull it off, but there's satisfaction in getting a little further than you did last time, and great satisfaction in completing a level. And I imagine completing the whole game that way would be especially satisfying for the right kind of person. So I think people who do have that drive to them, that like to perfect runs in platformers, because for me, the first thing a platformer needs to be good is good mechanics. For a platformer to be good, the mechanics have to be right. It has to feel good. But that only gets you to good. For a platformer to be great, for it to be amazing, a potential all-timer, it needs incredible level design. It needs level design to be great. Mechanics can only get you so far. It's the level design that puts you above the rest, which is why something like Celeste is so amazing. And also Celeste manages to have a really thoughtful story and great accessibility options, great art, great music. Celeste is a special platform, and Pepper Grinder isn't quite there, but it does have, from what I've played so far, some pretty solid level design and good feeling and unique mechanics. So if those things sound interesting to you and you enjoy yourself a side-scrolling platformer, it's worth checking out. The music, I'll say, since I brought that up with Celeste, I don't remember any of it, so at least so far, none of it really hit in any way. But that is Pepper Grinder. Next is Mars 2120, and this is a Metroidvania game that I played about an hour of, and it's just not there. Visually, it's kind of sharp and abrasive, but it doesn't look terrible. Level design was fine. It didn't do anything super interesting. I did enjoy when I got wall jumping. I enjoy the way that it felt. This is not Super Metroid, which has the worst wall jumping ever. Fuck that shit. I need to replay that because after people kept telling me, yeah, well, you don't have to wall jump. There's one area, it's not even something you have to go to. I'm like, what? I can't take it. But the really the Achilles heel of Mars 2120 is the combat. It feels fucking terrible. It is so boring. Maybe it gets interesting later down the road, but after an hour, so many encounters with enemies are just me standing in place, shooting them, because when they take damage, when they take a hit, the vast majority of them are reset and they can't do anything. They just take the hit, take the hit, take the hit, take the hit until they die. Even the fucking first boss I fought, I just stood in place and shot it. I just held down the firing button and shot it. Didn't have to aim or move. The boss didn't move around. It would just ever so occasionally initiate an attack that I would either have to jump to avoid or roll and avoid. And then it's just, okay, now go back to standing and shooting. It was one of the most boring boss fights I've ever played. Maybe the most. I'm trying to like, it was so fucking boring. And I know you could say the same about, the thing is, in other games, you at least have to move around to avoid, and there's the boss might move around, but none of that here. Even the first boss, kind of boss in Contra, which isn't really even a boss, it's just the base door. That is more engaging and interesting and challenging than this creature thing I fought in Mars 2120. And that was a fucking building. The building was more exciting. And then just the basic enemies are dull so far. So there just wasn't anything there hooking me in. And with combat that boring, even though you're fucking wall jumping feels pretty good, because the wall jumping is this thing where in designated areas you can, it's kind of like a dash teleport. It's super fast, super flow. It feels good, but I can't just wall jump my way to enjoying the game. All right, that's Mars 2120. Thief Simulator 2 is a janky mess of a game on console, at least on Xbox. The UI, everything about it is just a mess right now. If maybe it's the kind of game I look at and I think the people who would be into this janky thing would play it on PC, where it's probably better, a better experience because it's designed for that. And the audience for this game would be on PC as well. I'm curious. I want to like it because I like the concept of it, just putzing around and breaking in and doing stuff of that nature, but it needs some quality of life things before it can be enjoyable. Because the only thing I had fun was pulling out my crowbar, which getting the crowbar out was a janky mess trying to get that. It kept not wanting to do it. And then I pulled it out in the park. Don't take that out of context, my God. I pulled out my crowbar, which is not a euphemism for anything. And then there was a lady there, so I just hit her in the back of the head. And someone must have saw it because they immediately called the cops on me. And then I ran and I found a house. And the person saw me holding a crowbar, opened the door for me. I hit them. I knocked them out. I don't think I killed them. No, I didn't kill them because there were a bunch of Z's coming out of their head after I did it. And their head was through the door, but the door was closed again. I couldn't open it. I couldn't use my crowbar on it. It wouldn't let me. And I couldn't just open it, even though they opened it. And then the person who they were living with was just standing in the hallway. They weren't trying to save their friend. And they weren't going to the phone to call the cops. They were just looking at me. And I was looking at them, waiting. I was seeing if they would come to the door so that I could go in and then knock them out. But then the cop pulled up and tased me. And it said, do you want to pay to get out of jail? And I was like, nah, I don't want to play this game anymore. So that's Thieves Simulator 2. The Bloodhound is a fast-paced first-person shooter that is very much so trying to be in that Doom, or more specifically in this case, Painkiller vein. It feels very Painkiller-ish in terms of tone and vibe and feel and look. And even has eventually a crossbow you get that feels very much like the stake gun. The problem with this is that on console, on gamepad, it defaults to no aim assist. Doesn't feel that good. Then you can turn on aim assist. There is an option for it. That doesn't feel that good. It feels a little herky-jerky and not good. It doesn't look good. The way the combat works is that you'll walk a little bit and then you'll be blocked off from progressing and enemies will spawn in and then you kill them and then it opens up. Then you walk 10 more feet and it'll do it again. Walk over onto a bridge. Does it. You just keep doing that over and over and over again with these very boring weapons that don't feel satisfying. The dual barreled shotgun you get has a nice kick to it that feels all right, but the combat shot you get earlier doesn't. The stake gun feels kind of satisfying, but your base revolvers aren't good. Your assault rifles, whatever. It's just really dull and repetitive and a far cry away from what else is out there. So, yeah. Bloodhound Gang, it is not. I wonder, I haven't listened to Bloodhound Gang in a long time. I'm curious if I would still like it or if I would find it not as amusing as an adult. I really liked them for a period of time. I still remember the time. My brother, RIP, he's not dead, but he's not in my life anymore. Hasn't been for a very long time, and I'm pretty sure he never actually loved me. So, happy thoughts. But I remember the time he played, I can't remember if the name was, the song I think is called The Ballad of Chasey Lane. I may have been like 12 or 13 years old. And when he played that song for me, I was like, what the fuck are you playing? What is this? How is this even a song? What are we listening to? I'm not going to sing it for you. Feel free to look it up unless you're a kid. Don't. Definitely not safe for work if you have no idea what that song is. But if you know who the Bloodhound Gang is, that'll give you some kind of idea. But don't play it at work. Don't play it at school. Don't play it in front of your parents. If you have a younger sibling, don't play it in front of them. Or maybe you do. But don't play it in front of them if your parents are around. That is Bloodhound. Then last up we have Tiny Pixels Volume 1 Ninpo Blast. I was going to say Quest. This is a vertical scrolling shmup that it has a really nice look to it. Very bright and colorful. The music is nice, but quickly becomes repetitive. And the way it works is that you are trying to get as far as you can, and you'll take on waves in a kind of mixture, halfway point between a Galaga and a traditional shmup. You'll eventually hit a boss, and it's somewhat random. The pre-boss encounter feels somewhat the same between each run, but the boss will be random who you fight, and you're trying to get as far as you can. With each game over, you'll have some currency you can use to upgrade your ship, and it feels very much so like a game where at the start you're so weak that in order to really get far, unless you're just a savant at these types of games, you're going to have to grind and improve your ship, upgrade your weapons. But one thing that I found annoying, there are no names for your weapons, but when you go to the upgrade, they have names for the weapons, but you don't know which. If you have a preference for one weapon or the other, you don't know which one it is. You can kind of guess, and I think I know which is which, but it would be nice if it was a bit clearer with what is what. But your three weapons are a shuriken, which I think is the spread gun you have, and then a kunai, which I think is the one that just shoots in front of you. I could be wrong. And then a shield blast thing that charges up, and then you could blast it out and damage everything on the screen, which is a fairly useful thing. But you're just doing that loop, going through these waves, fighting enemies, learning how they attack, and doing your best to avoid them, kill them, get this currency to improve your ship, take on bosses as they come. And it's fine, but I found it to be on the more frustrating side, because I think it's designed around you having to upgrade your ship. But maybe I was just really, really bad at it. But on that point too, the way it is designed, it doesn't make for the most engaging interactions with the enemies, because it's pretty simple, and then you get to the boss, you do that, and then it just does it all over again, and maybe introduces a new enemy during this wave and that wave. I got through a few waves, and I was like, okay, I'm making progress, but I don't have that drive to keep making progress. I made some progress, and that was fine, somewhat satisfying, I guess, but it was like, all right, been there, done that, I'm good. But that is, again, Tiny Pixels Volume 1, Ninpo Blast. And that will do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me, I was going to say on, the bad place, that musky place. But I'm pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. Don't really engage with too much social media, so that's kind of a worthless thing. But, letterbox at some point. So yeah, there's that. And if you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/pxs. There you get access to a monthly Q&A, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, random drops on the Patreon, and more, of course, depending on your tier. But you could also just support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/pxs. And to that point, enjoying what I do potentially, just a reminder, I have started streaming again, and those happen Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central Time. Do the math yourself, but that is what I am doing. That is where I play games either for a test backlog or second runs, maybe some other stuff in the future, but primarily those two things right now. And I'm currently making my way through Kenna Bridge of Spirits, and I'm assuming at the time of this recording, and if you're watching it or listening to it right away, Thursday, that this evening's stream will be the last one for Kenna. And I've also said that if I finish a game early in the week, so if I finish Kenna here, I'm not going to start a new game tomorrow on Friday and then have the weekend off to not. I want to start a game. If a game finishes midweek, then the rest of that week is taken off, and we wait till next week to start something new. So there's all that as well. But in addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more, including Letterboxd, which I mentioned, though it's empty right now. But you can find all those links over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have both a wonderful rest of your day, a lovely rest of your week, and a wonderful weekend. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye.
It's go time. It's go time.